V8-powered Roadsters are regarded as one of the best driving formulas ever concocted in the automotive world, from the Corvette to the AC Cobra and many more. The open-top V8 sports car layout is universally appreciated by enthusiasts around the world. And in the late 1950s, BMW would take their own stab at creating a V8-powered open-top sports car to bring to the world stage. BMW would end up creating one of the most beautiful roadsters of all time. But this foray into open-top high performance would almost end up costing BMW their entire company. This is the story of the Mona Lisa of open-top V8 sports cars, the BMW 507. Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Rare Cars. This is the channel where we dive into the past and explore some of the rarest and most iconic vehicles of all time. If you want to see more short-form documentaries on unique cars like the BMW 507 or other cars like the De Tomaso Mangusta, then make sure that you are subscribed to the Rare Cars YouTube channel. As of right now, only about 5% of our current viewers are subscribed, and every subscriber helps us build our community just a bit more. But now, let's get into the fascinating history of the car that almost cost BMW their life, the BMW 507. From its inception, the BMW 507 was designed to fit a very particular role in the roadster market. The BMW 507 was actually the brainchild of Max Hoffman, who was a major European car importer in New York at the time. Back in the 1950s, Max recommended that BMW build a roadster that would fit within the marketplace below the more expensive and luxurious Mercedes 300 SL Gullwing, but above the more cost-effective MGA offering from MG. BMW heeded this advice from Hoffman as they were interested in capturing a strong foothold in the American market, and this V8 Roadster idea seemed like the perfect way to do so. BMW enlisted the help of Albrecht von Goertz to design what has gone down in history as one of the most beautiful cars ever made. And in 1955, the BMW 507 was finally unveiled to the world, and everybody was universally impressed. The stunning BMW 507's body was hand-formed in aluminum, much like its Italian counterparts would have been. Its swooping body lines that came over the wheel wells and extended across the body, coupled with its amazing proportions and handsome front end, made the 507 a car that was hard to take your eyes off of. With an extra fun fact being that the 1969 Chevrolet Camaro actually drew heavy inspiration from the 507's wheel well styling for its own wheel well styling. But back to the 507. The 507's exquisite body was drooped over a modified version of the BMW 503's chassis that was shortened to a 98-inch wheelbase for the more nimble and sporty 507. For reference point, an AC Cobra had a 90-inch wheelbase, so the 507 was a bit longer. The 507s utilized a solid axle rear suspension setup with torsion bars with a front double wishbone suspension that included a factory sway bar. The 507s also initially came fitted with drum brakes, but those were later swapped out for Girling disc brakes. The 507's suspension setup was a solid layout for a sports roadster at the time. But the real fun part of the 507 was under the hood. Powering the 507 was a 3.2-liter overhead valve V8, which was the first of its kind from BMW. This was the same V8 engine that powered the BMW 503, which the 507 was based on, only in the 507, power was bumped from 140 horsepower to 150 horsepower. Some of the finer details of the V8 power plant included a 7.8-to-1 compression ratio, a slightly hotter cam than the 503 had, polished combustion chamber surfaces, and some revised carb and ignition tuning. The 507s also featured a dual carburetor setup, and all of the 507s that were delivered came fitted with a manual 4-speed transmission. And that 4-speed shifter was mounted on the floor of the 507 with no surrounding center console. The interior of the 507 was simple yet elegant, featuring nicely trimmed leather seats, a fairly Spartan dash that housed beautiful large gauges, and very nicely trimmed leather door cards. The 507 inside was not a super spacious interior when you consider that the car itself was only about 65 inches wide at its widest point. The the 507s would tip the scales at just a hair under 3,000 pounds, which is light for today's standards, but back in the 50s, for a Roadster, the 507 actually was not very light. As a result, the 507 could only do 0 to 60 in about 12 seconds, and would top out at just over 120 miles an hour or so. I'm giving estimated performance numbers here because the exact numbers available for the 507 performance specs-wise online are all quite different, but the 12-second and 120 plus mile an hour top speed seem to be the most reliable numbers. With these performance figures, this would slot the 507 below the 300 SL in terms of speed and acceleration, but it would also make the 507 faster than the lighter and less powerful MGA, which made sense given the desired market positioning for the 507. There were actually two types of 507s, the early Series 1 cars and the later Series 2 cars, which featured a slightly different dashboard, more storage space. The Series 1 cars were built in 1956 and 1957, with the Series 2 cars being built from 1958 to 1960. With its drop-dead gorgeous looks and solid performance, it would have seemed like the 507 would have been a major winner for BMW. But in fact, it was quite the opposite. The 507 sold so poorly in America that it almost put BMW out of business. From 1956 to 1960, just 252 BMW 507s were sold, 34 Series 1 cars, and 218 Series 2 cars. For reference, when the idea of the 507 was first introduced, they were expecting to sell over 5,000 cars every single year. So what happened? Well, the 507 was initially supposed to be sold around the $5,000 price point, which would again make it the ultimate middle ground choice for a European performance car between the SL and the MGA. Only production costs for the 507 ended up ballooning because of the process of hand-laying the aluminum body, amongst other things. The final prices for the 507s would end up being about $10,500 to buy one new. And not only did that number make the cars way out of their target market's reach financially, BMW was still losing money on every 507 that was sold, even at that $10,500 price point. With prices this high, the buyers of the 507s would have to be people who were pretty well off, with notable 507 owners being Elvis Presley, King Constantine II of Greece, Prince Rainier of Monaco, and a few others. By the end, there were only a handful of 507s built before BMW decided to cut their losses and move on. This was a major moment in the history of BMW, and even though the car was by all metrics an absolute failure, BMW would still go on to build a tribute vehicle to the 507 decades later that was almost just as pretty. That car was the BMW Z8. Today, BMW 507s are exceptionally collectible cars that regularly trade hands for over $2 million in today's market. Not bad for a car that almost sent BMW to its early grave. And that is the story of the incredibly rare BMW 507. If you enjoyed the video, we would greatly appreciate it if you could drop a like and also share this video with other enthusiasts. Also, again, please make sure that you are subscribed to the Rare Cars YouTube channel and smash a notification bell for more documentary-style videos just like this on the world's most interesting cars. Until next time, enthusiasts.